Our scripture today comes from Gospel of Luke at the nearly the very end, chapter 24, verses 13 through 35. Now on that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and talking with each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And he said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while you walk along?" They stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place in these days?" He asked them, "What things?" They replied, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and leaders handed him over to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we had hoped that he would be the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all of this, it is now the 3rd day since these things took place. Moreover, some women of our group astounded us. They were at the tomb early this morning, and when they did not find his body there, they came back and told us that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see him." Then he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe that all that the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them the things about himself in all the scriptures. As they came near the village to which they were going, he walked ahead as if he were going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it is almost evening, and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished in their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scripture to us?" That same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions gathered together. They were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Then they told what had happened on the road, and how he had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread. May God bless to our understanding these words. Amen. If you think about it, Easter is a strange thing. We celebrate something we have no concept of in real life, in our experience of the world. A man, a prophet who embodies care and compassion, especially for those who are despised by society, has suffered and died. And then we hear something miraculous and bizarre has happened. 3 days later, he's not dead, he's alive. I don't know about you, but I take great comfort in the stories that follow Jesus' death and resurrection. Last week, Heidi talked about Thomas the twin, better known as the doubting disciple. I am so thankful for Thomas's skepticism, for his wanting to believe but needing to see and touch. He's a realist. It's refreshing to my modern and, dare I say, quite skeptical mind. Seen traditionally as the inferior disciple, it turns out that the point of the story is that Thomas's doubt, skepticism, and questions are all a part of deepening faith. That he is not, in fact, the inferior disciple, but a model disciple. Because doubt, like theologian Paul Tillich says, is not the opposite of faith. Rather, it is an essential part of faith. Easter is so good, so unbelievable. We too are invited to be like Thomas. So if you didn't get Easter, even if you hope in its deep truths, that life overcomes death, that love overcomes hate and apathy, and that doubt is an essential part of faith, like we talked about with Thomas, today's story is again for us. Because today we encounter two people, Cleopas and his companion, whose name is not mentioned. They are walking along the road following Jesus' death. And unlike us on Maundy Thursday, they have no concept of a resurrection on the horizon. For them, Good Friday had not been good in any way. They are lost in grief and disillusionment. Jesus, their hope, the one they believed was the Messiah, hoped for generations, was dead. And as far as they were concerned, that was the end of the story. Perhaps they were beginning to suspect that the whole thing, including their hope, had simply been a big mistake. Days had passed, and there was no change, no resurrection, no Jesus. Then a stranger meets them on their journey, and they are so despondent and worn out from their grief, because grief will wear you out, that they didn't recognize that the stranger is Jesus. They certainly weren't looking for him. They were simply trying to pick up the pieces of a shattered faith and carry on without the man they loved. So there they are on the road, walking to Emmaus. But why Emmaus? Where was Emmaus? Geographical locations in the Bible, seminary professors will tell you, are always significant. And here's the thing. Dwight and I looked it up, and scholars don't really know where Emmaus was. There are theories, but some suggest even that it might not have actually existed. The plot thickens. Cleopas and his companion are heartbroken, disillusioned, and walking to, well, somewhere. Theologian Frederick Buechner calls Emmaus the place we go in order to escape. A bar, a movie, wherever it is we throw up our hands, the place we go to forget that the world holds nothing sacred, that even the wisest and bravest and loveliest decay and die, that even the noblest ideas about love and freedom and justice have always in time been twisted out of shape by selfish people for selfish ends. To complicate things further, Cleopas is traveling with his companion whose name is never revealed. Why even mention a person when you don't mention their name? And there are plenty of people like this in the Bible who are never named. And some will tell you that it is because only the important people in the Bible are named. But what if Cleopas's companion isn't named because Luke was leaving a space for you and for me? Cleopas and Heidi, Cleopas and Katie, Cleopas and Dwight, Cleopas and Nancy, Cleopas and Mark. Might we be in this story? Cleopas and his companion are swollen with disappointment, with sadness and a sense of emptiness. And we know what those are like from time to time. We have moments where we resign ourselves to life as it is. We lose hope in beauty and goodness. We despair that we will never find that fulfilling career, that we just won't be able to make that next mortgage payment. that we may never be the parents we hope to be. We lose faith in friends or family when conflicts arise. We grieve and feel angry and confused as we transition between stages of life. We feel a mix of sadness and relief at the death of a terrorist mastermind in the news, while we despair in the horror of ongoing conflict and war. It is here that God comes to us, in the particular complexities of life, in the moments of despair as we are walking to, well, wherever it is we are going. As we are walking our roads to Emmaus along the way, the one who inspires the best in us also comes to us amidst shattered dreams. The one we call the Prince of Peace doesn't shy away from chaos and conflict. The one who taught us to pray accepts that sometimes we are so troubled we cannot pray. The one who offers salvation identifies with people who are terrified and lost. The one who offers unmatched encouragement knows better than any other the depths of discouragement. Do you grasp the meaning? If you did not sense the joy of Easter morning, if you have not felt Jesus rise as the Christ, if you have more doubt than hope, and you need to see it for yourself, if you don't have the desire to jump up and shout, "Alleluia!" you're in good company. Because in this story, we have the image of God walking alongside human confusion, pain, loss, doubt, and despair. We all have roads to Emmaus. And the story today invites us to expect God to find us along the way. We are challenged to see that it isn't unshakable faith or deep spirituality that connect us with the risen Christ. It is Christ, or God, or the Spirit, or whatever you want to call it, who meets us. And when God meets us, though it might be simply a fleeting moment, in the same way that Jesus appeared and then vanished in the disciples' presence, the moment is to be appreciated. Easter isn't simply a Sunday, and it isn't over the following Monday. It stretches into our lives. Cleopas and his companion can't meet the stranger on the road again, but their lives will never be the same. This is why they say, "Did not our hearts burn within us?" The warmth of God will stay with us. A friend recently told me a story about his friend who runs marathons regularly. The runner's mom comes to every race. It's kind of funny if you think about it. This guy runs for 3 hours usually in a marathon, and his mom sees him for probably 30 seconds when she's standing on the race course cheering him on. As he's going along the path, he may not even see her there amidst the cheering crowd. But it really doesn't matter. She makes sure he knows that she's there with him, there, cheering him on. And as a result, he knows it to be true, even if he can't see her or hear her in the crowd. Even if the path is difficult, even if the run is painful, I imagine it warms his heart to know she's there. And I imagine that long after the race is run, the memory of her presence at every race along the way warms his heart. The church's celebration of Easter may come and go, but may the warmth of God stay with us as we walk our Emmaus roads. Because when we walk along the journey, especially in sorrow and in doubt, God meets us there so that we too may say, "Did not our hearts burn within us?" Amen.